Fellow countrymen, today's referendum doesn't have winners and losers. It's a big victory by itself. Today, together, we wrote a glorious page in European history. We proved that even in the worst circumstances, democracy can be blackmailed and is a dominant value and an alternative option.
All right, joining us now is John Fund, Newsmax analyst, National Review, Foreign Affairs columnist, author of Obama's Enforcer, Eric Holder's Justice Department. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, you wrote a great piece on Greece recently that appeared at National Review. Where are we with this whole thing? And how? I mean, we've been talking about Greece for years, and it finally came to a head. And then they had the gall to vote, no, we don't want to go any more austerity.
Margaret Thatcher wrote famously that the problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money. The bailouts got to the point where the Greeks could only get more money if they actually tried to reform their antiquated and archaic economy and repair their pension plans. They refused to do so. The Greek government, the extremely left-wing Marxist government, decided to go to the people. The people rose up and backed them. And now the Greeks have to figure a way to stay in the euro, but they can't because they won't agree to any of the reforms they just rejected. Why should Americans care? Well, we certainly should care because Europe is one of our largest trading partners. Europe is going to be in a lot of turmoil. We should care because we have our own Greece. It's called Puerto Rico. Already something like 40% of Puerto Ricans are on food stamps. There's an enormous potential humanitarian crisis there if Puerto Rico defaults on its loans and debts. And of course we have states and cities all over America. They're the mini Greeces. Illinois, Chicago, you name it. We're going to be paying these bills for a long time.
New Jersey's pension fund.
New Jersey's pension fund. We're going to be paying these bills for a long time. And we've got to figure a way how to handle our obligations because we're trying to live a 5-star welfare state in with a 3-star or 2-star fiscal policy.
I love that analogy.
And eventually that doesn't work.
Well, is this an opportunity for Republicans to, counter the actions and policies of Obama and the actions and policies that Hillary would promise and is promising if she becomes president, and point to Greece and point to Puerto Rico and say we can't keep giving free.
Well, also our debt, our national debt has exploded, and Obamacare is only going to make that worse. And I guess the argument against Hillary will be very simple, which is there anything in your policies that wouldn't continue to see the debt explode? And I have never seen Hillary Clinton endorse one spending cut for even one moment.
That's absolutely true. All right, and as far as Greece goes, thankfully it's not that big. There aren't a lot of American people or companies that hold a lot of the debt, so it's not affecting us as much. The market today, in fact, opened like down 200 points and it finished up 100 points, so it's been a little roller coaster ride, I guess.
Well, sadly, of course, there is still the Greek people.
Yeah.
Many of them have relatives in the United States.
Yeah.
There are 11 million Greeks, far more than that actually here in this country. It's very sad because they're going to go through a humanitarian wrenching crisis.
Yep.
I was in Greece in May. It is so sad to see people with nothing to do in their life sitting at a restaurant table with a cup of hot water they've gotten from the waiter, and they're putting ketchup packets in it to try to make a kind of soup.
That is
very, very sad. But unfortunately, the Greek government has done this to their people, and the Greeks unfortunately elected this current government, so they also have to do something and take their end of the argument and do something about it.
You also wrote a piece which I think really needs a lot more publicity. I know CNN, to their credit, did interview Lynn Russell, former CNN anchor, and her husband, also a former CNN on-air guy, who saved their lives in a motel in New Mexico when someone busted into their room with a gun and they shot and killed this guy. They were shot, but they saved their lives.
Well, she says very simply, in the kind of simple language a TV anchor uses to communicate, I owe my life to the Second Amendment. If we hadn't had that gun, this guy would have killed us. He'd already been convicted of 5 felonies. He had a gun, and criminals are always going to have guns, she says. We need a gun, and we got it legally. Why in the world does anyone want to disarm us? Because the criminals are never going to be disarmed.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. 5 felonies. And you know, the police chief in Chicago, in the wake of the horrific weekend where the little boy was killed and 9 others and 50 some odd shot and wounded, said, and he said this before, we don't lock people up. If we lock them up, they don't serve their term. We let them back out on the street, so they know there's no real repercussion, so they're not afraid to do what they do. So we have the laws, we capture most of the people, but then we let them back out to do it again.
And of course, very sadly, in the illegal immigration situation in San Francisco and other places, the same thing has happened, except there we even have the option of deporting them, of not keeping them in the country if we release them, but we don't do that.
All right, and Dianne Feinstein, by the way, said she wants federal legislation possibly to...
Finally!
I know.
I'm from San Francisco, Steve, and you know, Dianne Feinstein was the mayor 35 years ago. Yeah. She's been in public life, in public office almost continuously since then. Now she finally discovers sanctuary cities are a problem. I welcome her conversion, but it's taken 35 years.
Absolutely. You also wrote a piece about urging people to practice free speech on July 4th. That's come and gone, but still, we are at a crossroads here when it comes to free speech in this country, and I guess we've seen it with the Confederate flag and in the wake of that horrific shooting. But I just think we're this close. I mean, to losing one Supreme Court justice possibly appointment away from losing many of our freedoms.
Free speech is in the First Amendment. You think the First Amendment would be given some deference? No. The First Amendment is now being taken over, and I think next it'll be called the Politically Correct Amendment, that you don't have a right to be offended at all. That'll be the interpretation the courts put on it.
Yeah, and Hillary has a history. I don't remember what it was called, but she, as Secretary of State, either signed onto or supported or touted some kind of bill that, or some kind of world kind of
World Media Council.
Yes, which would do that. And she has publicly said, not too long ago, since she announced that we need to change the way. First of all, our deeply held religious beliefs need to change, and the way we get news. Because
talk radio is troublesome. The internet is troublesome.
Yeah. Well, today she basically said it's a right-wing conspiracy why people don't trust her. It's all their fault again. They're the right.
I never knew that those shows had such influence.
Yeah.
She seems to be the only one who believes that.
Apparently, and if you look at the last couple of elections, I never knew either.
Exactly.
John, great to see you, my friend.
A pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Fund, ladies and gentlemen, and check out, of course, Obama's enforcer, Eric Holder's Justice Department, a must-read for everybody. Okay, folks, when we come back, Republican pollster and strategist John McLaughlin will be here, and he has a lot of information, including what he considers to be a very winning strategy for the Republicans going forward against Hillary Clinton, and it is something that I think will succeed, and we'll talk about it with John when we come back right here on Newsmax Television.